Greetings, my name is Mike Fluke, and you're watching the File of Republic podcast. And in this episode, I'm going to do a follow-up to the Violence Against Women and Children Act of the Philippines. Can a man file a VAWC claim against a woman? Yes, and it's not that complicated. You may recall my most popular video was about a little law that ladies can use in the Philippines to destroy a man's life. After several months of continuing to do research for my own personal circumstances, I've been having a lot of back and forth with ChatGPT, and I don't know whether it was the update or not, but not only did I learn that yes, a man can file a VAWC claim. Due to a new Supreme Court ruling as of 2023, they set a new precedent. Not only can he do that, but I've also outlined an entire legal roadmap, created scripts, rebuttals to objections, and even made boilerplate affidavits on how to do the whole process. And if you join the members-only community, you can get that for free. But yeah, I guess in this one, I'm just going to go really quick and fly through it because I don't want to waste your time like I have with my previous videos. So first, I'm going to talk about what a VAWC claim is. Then I'm going to talk about the precedent that changed everything back in 2023. And then I'm going to kind of quickly go over at a high level how a man, a father, can file a VAWC claim against his Filipino spouse. So the only caveat is that you have to have kids and there has to be a child involved. This is to protect your children. This is for the well-being and best interest of your kids. And I know there's a lot of you out there. I know I'm one. If you're a guy like me that came to the Philippines in 2016, you met a girl, you fell in love, you had 2 baby boys, and then things went off the rails, this one's for you. Before we begin, I would just like to pull up the original video that I'm currently responding to. This video was a labor of love. I launched this channel, I believe, on the last day of May of this year, and this was my second video that I ever made. And in this video, it runs about an hour, I talk about several cases where VAWC has been weaponized in the most cruel ways against men in the Philippines, even up until the day of publishing that video. I'm thinking in particular of the Albi Benitez case. I highly recommend you watch this video if you haven't already. It's very thorough and it's got a lot of information in it. Now, it's also my most popular video. And I think within the first 24 hours, I got 2,000 views on it. And I was proud of that, and I shared it all over Facebook groups that I later learned I am a mutual member with several other YouTubers that are expats based in the Philippines. And I noticed a wave of videos that followed mine that talked about VAWC. And those videos were very substantial. They all had personal stories and anecdotes, and I thought they were very, very helpful. And if I was lucky enough to inspire those pieces of content, I'm very happy about that. However, I'm a new guy here. You know, I'm just starting my channel. I've only got 179 subscribers, you know, and if you find that this new precedent that I'm going to talk about today inspires you to make another piece of content with mug in hand. This mug is from the Philippines Red Cross, by the way. The last girl that I gave my type O negative blood to had leukemia. I've bled for the Philippines, and I make this content to be helpful to my fellow men. And if you find this content useful, my fellow YouTubers here in the Philippines, please consider giving me a shout out in your comment, like in your video, or like leave a mention of me in the description with a link to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. I've only got 179 subscribers, and you know, this project for me is really do or die, and I want to take it all the way, but I need help. So if you want to help me grow my channel a little bit, and you make a video about this because I've inspired you in any way, I would really appreciate a shout out. So let's get right into this now. The Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004 was written to protect women and their children from violence of a physical, sexual, psychological, and economic nature committed by their husband or ex-husband, live-in partner, boyfriend, or anyone with whom they have had a sexual or dating relationship and has a penis. By definition, the covered victims are women and their children. Men are not listed as possible complainants under the law. Now, has a man ever tried to file a VAWC claim against their Filipina spouse? And the answer is a resounding yes. Some fathers have tried to use the Republic Act 9262 to file against the mother, especially in cases of parental alienation or economic abuse, i.e., when the mother blocks visitation or withholds the child for money. However, courts consistently dismiss those cases because the law is gender specific. In several rulings, the Supreme Court even clarified that VAWC was intentionally written to protect women and children only, not men. So they're giving you the answer right there. They're giving you the workaround. It's just subtle. But it really is annoying that you have to dance the dance. You know, like you got to dance in just the right way. You know, you got to do the, like they couldn't have just said, oh, you know, are you going to file on behalf of yourself or your child? Me. Well, you can't file on behalf of yourself, but you can file on behalf of your child. Okay. You know, like they could just do this, but they don't. And it's enraging because if there is abuse going on and the child is being negatively affected, parental alienation is also, you know, for money. That's economic abuse. And that's no good, you know. But yeah, they really stick to their guns. They put gender above the child. So what other options does a man have before we look at how you can file a VAWC claim? Let's look at other options that are on the table for a man. Since a man cannot file a VAWC claim as himself, there are criminal laws. If the mother physically harms the child or the father, charges can be filed under the revised penal code, i.e. child abuse, assault, etc. Then there is Republic Act 7610, the Special Protection of Children Against Abuse, Exploitation, and Discrimination Act. So there's a lot of laws protecting kids. Protects children from abuse regardless of whether it's the mother or father doing it. Now, I don't understand. Because if abuse is chalked up in one law as being economic abuse, but then like in this Republic Act 7610, it's to protect children from abuse. Like, why a man even had to go through the VAWC route at all is another failing, in my opinion, of the legal system in the Philippines. I mean, why don't you just, okay, you know, like bottom line, bad thing happening. How do we address it? Oh, you have a penis. Let's make it difficult. Custody or visitation enforcement. The father may also file a case for custody or enforcement as visitation rights in family court. If the mother is obstructing, she can be held in contempt. And then there's civil cases for damages or injunctions if the alienation causes measurable harm. How do you measure psychological harm of a minor whose brain isn't fully developed and can't communicate how they feel? So in short, no, a man cannot file a VAWC case against a woman in the Philippines. The law is strictly for women and children. However, a father does have other legal remedies through child protection laws, criminal statutes, and family court actions. But for some reason, men aren't having that much luck with those. So now let's take a look at the case that brought upon the new precedent. So let's look at the creative situation of Mr. Randy Michael Knutson. His battle to protect his daughter from physical abuse started in December 2017. That was when Randy Michael Knutson filed for a temporary and permanent protection order under VAWC on behalf of his minor daughter. So he did it the way, the new precedent way, alleging that her mother had subjected her to physical, emotional, and psychological harm, including hair pulling, slapping, threatening to kill, unalive, and brandishing a knife. In the trial court ruling at the Taguig Regional Trial Court, they dismissed his petition, reasoning that VAWC protections couldn't apply because the petitioner was not a woman, a female victim of violence, and the offender was the mother, and he had a penis. Make it make sense, please. The Supreme Court ruling, however, in February 2023, several years later, after the daughter had probably experienced much more abuse, which I believe at this point would be directly at the hands of the legal system. The High Court reversed the original decision in Taguig, and it ruled that Section 9B, if you got a pen, Section 9B of VAWC allows parents or guardians of the offended party, child or woman, to file protection orders regardless of their gender. So it took a Supreme Court ruling to get this obvious, it's written that way. Sorry, I'm going to try to tamp my emotions down. The law defines the offender as any person in gender-neutral terms, so mothers can be held liable as well. The law's intent is to protect vulnerable individuals, not to exclude certain relationships. The court granted the protection order for the daughter, setting a precedent. So let's summarize, and then we'll look at the process. Before the ruling, fathers could not file VAWC claims because they weren't in the category of a woman, because they have pee-pee. Mothers often are seen as immune from liability under VAWC, limited recourse for child abuse by mothers under VAWC, and because apparently people can't fucking read. After the ruling, fathers can file on behalf of their children under VAWC. Mothers can be offenders under the law, just like anyone, and clear legal path for protection via VAWC when the child is abused by the mother. And VAWC defines abuse as physical, emotional, economic. So that's something to think about. Now, here's where we run into an issue. They're not really good at thinking on their feet. So it took all this work just to prove violence, and just to get this case filed and then taken up to the Supreme Court and then to set the new precedent. And that was entirely based on violence, like physical abuse. Now, even though VAWC classifies emotional abuse and economic abuse as abuse under VAWC, because his case didn't also encapsulate those modalities of abuse, I think you'd still have an uphill battle, which is pretty frustrating because they don't budge. Like, if you know what an NPC is, if you know, and welcome to the land. It's more fun in the Philippines, folks. So just to wrap up the summary, yes, a man was able to file VAWC-based legal petition in the Philippines. The Supreme Court ruled that it was valid when acting on behalf of the abused child. This case has broadened the reach of VAWC to protect children from maternal abuse while empowering fathers as legitimate petitioners under this law. Now, I understand that there are various, legal authorities that are watching my videos on a somewhat regular basis. Yeah, hi. Maybe just going all the way and removing all gendered language, because abuse is abuse, no matter what little bits you got hanging between your legs. You want world class, right? So, yeah, that's the story of Mr. Randy Michael Knutson. Now, let's look at the process, and I'm going to do this at a high level because it's verbose, and I'm going to try to keep it simple. But just understand that as a man, the burden of evidence is going to be much higher on you. They don't like to go against their previous rulings and previous precedents, and, a lot of them don't get to update, like a software update. They just didn't get the update. So they're still thinking in pre-2023 terms. So they're going to make it very difficult on you. So you're going to have to go to war. And again, in the members only community, I'm going to keep a Google Drive folder that I will share, and I will consistently update as I learn more of the entire legal roadmap and all of the scripts written in 3 languages, Tagalog, English, and Visayan. And then I'll also have boilerplate affidavits there. Now, just to be clear, I'm not selling those. There is a small monthly fee to be a part of the members-only community, but that's just to keep out the riffraff and to support the channel. I'm not selling any legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not even giving legal advice now. I'm just providing the research that I did, and I'm just showing you my notes. So for anyone watching that is of a legal authority, just please understand that. I am not claiming to be a lawyer. I'm not claiming to offer any legal advice. I bet you guys would love to come after me, but then still let kids continue to be abused. Anyway, so the first step you have to do as a man is to gather evidence of abuse. That includes medical records, if the physical abuse caused injuries, photos, videos, or injuries or incidents, witnesses, affidavits, family members, neighbors, helpers, teachers, etc., police blotters, barangay blotters, child's written testimony if age appropriate, or a psychologist's report. Now, these are all evidentiary requirements if a woman is going to file a VAWC claim against a man. Do you think that they do all this stuff? No, probably not. Prepare a petition for a protection order. You can do that at the barangay hall or at the family court. There's 3 kinds of them. There's a BPO, which is a barangay protection order. It's valid for 15 days. There's a temporary protection order, which is valid for 30, and you get that at the court. And then there's a permanent protection order, which comes after a full hearing, and it offers longer term protection. Who can file? The father now can, as parent or guardian of the minor child. So explicitly confirmed in the Knutson case. However, you're still going to have an uphill battle trying to do that. And then also possible, social workers can do it, police can do it, barangay officers can do it, or relatives can file on behalf of the child, but you don't have a home team advantage and nobody likes you. Especially because she's probably going to weaponize a false claim of abuse against you. No one is going to help you. I mean, I went to CSWD to prevent my children from being taken away in an exploitative, kidnapping-like nature. And they weren't just like ineffective. They weren't just useless. They actually were worse than that. They hurt my case. And one such example of going to CSWD here in Puerto Princesa City at City Hall was that I had made a specific claim against my spouse. That spouse confirmed the claim as fact. And then on the notes of the meeting minutes, like the notes, the lesbian that was taking the notes, because the guy that showed up half an hour late was still on his phone, the lesbian that took the notes, she wrote allegedly, even though it was confirmed as fact right there. And that piece of paper became worthless as soon as the word allegedly was on there, because now I've got to go another route, right? Which I have, but it's just a little bit frustrating. They really are against you if you're a foreigner. If you're white, it's a real pain in the ass sometimes. But yeah, so moving on. Yeah, so you would file for a BPO at the barangay hall, and then the regional trial court or family court for the TPO or PPO. And then if it's really urgent, you can go directly to the nearest police station or DSWD office. But again, come on. There's DSWD, which is like their social welfare office. And then within that is the CSWD, which is like their version of Child Protective Services. And then there's Randy Tolfo, the senator with the podcast, that would probably be able to do a lot to shape public opinion and maybe get you the attention that you properly deserve. But yeah, it's a really good tool in your toolbox, actually. You should look up Randy Tolfo. He's going to be maybe somebody I talk to as well. And then the contents of the petition, now we're getting verbose. Names and relationships of parties, clear description of acts of abuse, physical, emotional threats, etc., of evidence supporting the allegations, and specific reliefs sought. So, and then there's court proceedings, both sides present evidence, blah, 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 and then the judge decides. Now, the possible relief that you can get under VAWC as a father, the possible reliefs dictated under Republic Act 9262, Section 8, the court may order the perpetrator to stay away from the child, father, home, or school, temporary custody of the child to the non-abusive parent, the father in this case, financial support from the abusive parent, exclusive use of the family home by protected parties, and law enforcement to assist in enforcement. So you can actually get, you can get the girl kicked out of the house if she was able to, what's the word they use? Not glaze, finesse. If she was able to finesse the home out of you, then you'll be able to get that back. So, and then finally, enforcement. There's if there's a violation of the order, there's criminal liability there. So this precedent, to wrap it up and summarize it, it's very new. It's only as of 2023. Most barangay staff, most court staff are probably not going to be aware of this new precedent. So you're going to have to really be very careful to cite it. So if you want to get a pencil, if you want to cite the specific Supreme Court ruling, it is GR number 239215, February 2023. The Knutson case. Having a lawyer helps, but it's not strictly required for filing. And again, you know, if you've got really good scripts, you know, and a legal roadmap and some boilerplate affidavits that don't suck, you know, you could probably do this on your own. So not legal advice, though. Don't know if you'd want to gamble, but, you know, not all of us are, you know, sitting on a lot of cash, and, you know, maybe doing it a more economically feasible way would be ideal. And then fathers should also coordinate with the DS or CSWD, which, blah. But you have to, apparently. So, and filing fees are often waived in cases involving children. So there's a very low bar to entry. I mean, really, the only bar to entry in my case is travel, really. So, and there's a few other circumstances that are pressing, but yeah, I guess that wraps this up. So if you found this inspiring or useful, please share it. Please hit the like button. Please drop a comment. What do you think about this new way? Do you think anyone has a prayer in hell, you know, for being able to file a VAWC claim against their Filipina spouse? Do you know anyone who's tried? How did their case go? Did they do it on behalf of the child? And if I reach 800 subscribers, I'll go back to doing panels with 2, 3, 4, or 5 Filipina ladies sitting around a table talking about love and marriage and dating. Because if you are coming to the Philippines from the outside, you're coming here, dating is going to be a part of the equation. And what better way to know what the ladies are like? Because I know every single podcast about becoming a passport bro or a retiree, and anyone, you know, foreign that talks, like an expat that talks about the Philippines, they're always talking about how Filipinas are so great. They're so great. But are they? Are they right now? Are they today? Right now, are they? Don't know, do ya? Well, my panels were good for that. If you go check the screening process playlist on my channel, you'll be able to find, you know, I think there's like 4 episodes there, and a few of them are live. And when I do start doing that again, they will be live, and you'll be able to engage directly with the ladies. So help me get up to 800 subscribers, folks, please. And yeah, I guess that's a wrap. My name is Mike Fluke. You've been watching the File a Republic podcast. Thank you for stopping by. Have a wonderful day.